Hey guys, welcome to this week's review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 5. Let's get into it. So, I didn't do last week's review, but I'm here now, and that's what counts, okay? So, yeah, let's get started. I'm a little rusty, so have a bit of patience with me. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but it's fun. Okay, so where to begin? So the episode starts off, they're all having dinner. Of course, they're always having dinner, and you know what happens when they all have dinner? Some mess goes down. So they're all having dinner, and I guess last week's episode ended off with Cheray saying, "Well, your husband's gay." Because, the messy assistant, that's what he's spreading. Okay, and Drew's husband, he just laughs, ha 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 ha. And you know what? He handled it really well. He did. And by his reaction, do I want to say he's gay? I would say by his reaction, I would say he's not gay. At the end of the day, I don't know. And if he's gay, it's gonna come out. And maybe he could be bi, and that's also okay. Happy Pride Month! Woo-hoo-hoo. um, yeah, so Drew ended up apologizing, sort of, maybe, for the way she handled the situation because the new girl, what's her name again? Okay, you know what? It didn't come on last week, and I'm still learning, her name. What's her name? I think it starts with an S. She kind of explained to Drew, look, I don't know why you're getting mad at Cheray about, I don't know why you're getting mad at Cheray. You should be mad at your assistant. And it's like, he still has a job. Like, hello, why don't you fire him? Why don't you cut ties? Like, clearly he's the common denominator and the messy one in the situation. So yeah, and I agree with her. I don't understand why she's mad at Sheree. And I love how Kenya stood up for her. Like, Sheree didn't say anything about your husband. And I'm not saying that Sheree had the right to say something about her husband, but like, you were going around telling everybody Sheree's business. So Sheree could have easily put that out about your husband as revenge, but she did not. And like, Sheree wasn't even the one to bring it up. It was that random lady. I don't know who she is. No offense to her. I just don't know who she is. She was at Kenya's birthday party. She was actually the first one to bring up on camera that her husband was gay. And at that point, once the information was out there, I guess Sheree just ran with it. Like, yeah, that's what he said. So, so Sheree wasn't really, and we know Sheree is the bone collector. Right, so for the bone collector to keep her mouth shut and not spill the tea, I mean, you should be thanking Sheree. You should be kissing Sheree's feet, okay? Because that must have taken a lot out of her. Come on, the bone collector not, collecting the bones? Come on. Or spilling the bones? I don't know how that would work. But you know what I'm trying to say. So I guess everybody at the table pretty much was calling Drew out. Like, Drew, you're being stupid. Like, why are you mad at Sheree? You should be mad at the assistant. And reluctantly, she kind of apologized. I wasn't really feeling that apology. It was very passive aggressive, but I think she realized how dumb she looked in that moment. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that they were able to handle that and smooth that over. But Sheree wasn't done yet. She then directs her energy towards Candy. And, she expressed the fact that she was very disappointed with Candy and how she handled the situation because are Candy and Sheree friends like that? I don't know. I'm not really feeling like I think they're long time co-workers. But Sheree was feeling some type of way because Candy went and I think she told Marlo, she told Kenya, she pretty much told everybody before she came to Sheree, right? And I can totally understand why Sheree would be upset. I think Candy kind of had her producer hat on, and she was kind of just stirring the pot, creating the mess, making good TV. And what's the fun in going straight to Cheray with the mess? No, you got to tell everybody in the group to get the storylines, moving. And I think that's what it was. And I don't think, honestly, I just don't get the vibe that Kenya and I'm not Kenya, that Sheree and Candy are friends like that. Like, I'm trying to look back at the previous seasons, and I don't really recall them hanging out or really kind of having any sort of bond. So, yeah. Not to say that's okay for her to tell everybody in the group before she tells Sheree. Like, yeah, that was pretty shitty of her to do. And Candy's response was like, "Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that." And like Sheree is like, "Yeah, you did that." And oh, well, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't think Candy's apology seemed very sincere to me. I mean, Sheree in her confessionals said, well, it seemed half what sincere. I wouldn't even give Candy half. It didn't seem sincere at all, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think Candy just sees it kind of as a job, and part of her job is to be messy. And if your mess gets spilled, your tea gets spilled, and I think Candy kind of feels maybe her hands are a bit clean because she's not the one that started the rumor. Like, it wasn't me. These are my friends, and I was just telling them what happened. So it is what it is. I'm not the one that put it out there. So I don't feel like she feels personally responsible. And I don't think her and Sheree are friends. So she doesn't really owe her any loyalty. But I think she kind of just apologize to kind of shut Sheree up. That's the vibe that I got. But moving on. Kenya and Mark are forever having their problems. So I guess Brooklyn was supposed to spend the night over with Mark, but then Mark, texts Kenya saying he has work, so you have to come and pick her up because he can't stay with her all night. And the whole situation is really sad because from what we heard here from Kenya, Mark is not really in Brooklyn's life. And Candy and Marlo, I think Kenya has takes a moment and steps outside, and Marlo, I'm really surprised by her because we know that Marlo and Kenya in the previous episode they had their little tiff, but they definitely, I'm here for Marlo. Marlo is playing the game right because before, you know how Marlo could just drag things on and keep things going. I think this season, I think probably the producer sat her down and was like, "Look, if you want to have a peach, you got to know how to fight, break up, but you also got to learn how to make up." Like, people want to see levels to you, layers to you. Like, we just don't want to see the Marlo that's antagonizing people and getting into fights. We will also want to see other sides of you. And Marlo is giving us that. And I really, should I give kudos to Marlo? Like, is the standard so low, the bar so low? I'm giving kudos to Marlo for being a decent human being. What the hell is reality television? I gotta give kudos to the Housewives for being decent human beings. So I'm gonna give a kudos to Marlo for comforting Kenya, right? um and even like Candy was telling her, like, maybe you kind of need to make Mark in charge of like when he wants to see Brooklyn instead of you kind of taking responsibility for that. And Kenya brought up a great point, like, I can't do that. Like, it's not about Mark, it's about Brooklyn. And her relationship with her father is really important. And I do agree with Kenya when she says, like, you get your self esteem, like, girls get their self esteems from their father. Now, okay, do I agree with that? Kinda, kind of. But I definitely feel like, if you're kind of a heterosexual woman, right, and you're going to be dating men, I think you learn a lot about how men are supposed to treat you from how your father treated you. So if your father was wishy-washy and not really there in your life, then that kind of can become the norm for you. and you will accept that in the men you date in the future. So I do think it's important for a daughter to have a healthy relationship with their father. But I don't know if that's really Kenya's responsibility at the end of the day. I mean, Kenya can do what she can, but eventually Brooklyn is going to get older and she's going to see for herself how her father is. You can only, as a parent, I think you definitely do your best to shield your child from, like if the other parent isn't so great, maybe you don't want to burst that bubble too soon, but eventually they're going to find out for themselves. Like Brooklyn is really young now, but even at what, like she's 3 too, even at this age, she's smart enough to pick up on certain things. By the time she turns 5, 10, 13, 16, she's going to know what kind of guy he is. Like if he's not going to step up and take personal responsibility and be a father, it's on him. It's not on Kenya. Although I do admire Kenya and the lengths that she goes for her daughter and for her daughter to have a relationship with her father, I just hope she's not. I mean, at the end of the day, can we just be real? Kenya has coins, so she can afford to send a nanny over to or whoever she needs to go pick up Brooklyn. Like it's no big deal. It is a big deal emotionally, but it's not so much a big deal financially and logistically. It's not a big deal for her to just go send somebody over. Like, I can imagine, say, if you didn't have the coins like that, that would add an extra layer of frustration. Not to minimize um what Kenya's going through emotionally, but like at least, it didn't inconvenience her life so much. But then I'll take that back, because yeah, I can understand, like, emotionally you kind of want your daughter to have that time with their father, and for the father just to be like, yeah, I spent a couple of hours with her, I think it's enough, after he hasn't seen her for 3 months and he's done with her for, like, he spent a couple of hours and then he's done, he can't do anymore. Like, it is really disappointing. It is. And like, even if you kind of had to go, because I know he's in the restaurant business, so say he had to go into work, right? You couldn't find somebody to like look after her for a little while, because at that time it must be like what, 11 p.m., 10 p.m. at the, like, at the earliest, right? So it's like, why can't you just find somebody to like look after her while you go into work, you come back in the morning, you spend a little bit of time with her in the morning, you wake her up, like you tuck her into bed, you go off to work, and then you come back in the morning or whatever time you come back, and then you're there to wake her up, give her a kiss, eat breakfast with her, and then send her on her way. It's like you can't find any other solutions to the problem. Your solution is just to like pass her back to Kenya. Like, if you haven't seen your daughter in 3 months, wouldn't you want to spend as much time as you can with her? You know what I mean? Wouldn't you, like, I know you run a business, so I know that, like, it may not be as easy to say as, like, oh, I can't come in, can you cover me? Because it's not like you're an employee, you're the employer. But, like, I don't know, you couldn't find any other solution, so the whole thing is really, really just, it's really sad. It really is, but unfortunately, that's life, and that's happened, like a lot of us out here have deadbeat fathers, like, unfortunately, I hate to say that. I hate to say a lot. I really do. And hopefully, hopefully Mark changes. I was going to say hopefully Brooklyn will be okay, but you know what? Hopefully Mark changes. Hopefully he gets a lot of backlash, right? And hopefully enough people call him out, like, look, you're being an asshole. Be a better father. Come on. And maybe the shame will make him change. I don't know. Let's just move on. Okay. So next, Marlo calls out Candy. So they get back to the table. Gotta add that point. They get back to the table. And then Marlo takes the opportunity to call out Candy because Candy gave all the ladies these vibrating panties, and they're supposed to play some weird game with each other where they're all gonna wear these vibrating panties and they're gonna give the remote to each other, and they're gonna press the each other's buttons and make each other vibrate. I'm like, what the, like, I was about to say I'm not a prude, but I'm like, I'm one of those people that are like a prude, but like I really don't want to be, but I actually am. And you know what? I'm just gonna own it. I'm a prude, but I want to be open minded. I truly do, right? But I agree with Marlo. Like last season, the sex thing was too much, but then it made sense. See, maybe it was a little too much, but it made sense in that context because it was Cynthia's bachelorette party, right? So there was a place for that. But like, I just don't, it just doesn't really fit in here, right? Or the season, I guess she kind of, when Portia accused her of having a dungeon, so she turned it into a dungeon show. That made sense, you know? Like having overtly sexual things, it makes sense. So it's like, I'm not against it, but it's all about the context. It has to make sense. Her giving everybody vibrating panties for her Broadway musical premiere doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to you guys? It just, Broadway musical, vibrating panties. Vibrating panties, Broadway musical. Hmm. I don't really see the connection, so it just comes off as like, it comes off as advertising. It comes off as like I'm promoting my business, and I'm just finding like a uninspired way to kind of jam it in there. It just does. No pun intended. It's just weird. I'm sorry, Candy. This is weird. I don't want to be judgmental. I want to be open-minded. I want to be cool like the other kids, but it just doesn't make sense. It just, and I it's like weird. Even at a bachelorette party, it would be kind of like, that's just crossing, I don't know, it's crossing some imaginary lines. Like, you're wearing vibrating panties and you're giving it to you're giving the remote control to your friends, and you're gonna like press each other's, it's just too much. It's too much. I don't get it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that scene play out. I feel like it's just crossing some imaginary line for me. And I kind of agree with Marlo. And of course, Candy got like super defensive and is like, well, Marlo, maybe you just need to have some sex. It's like, really, Candy? That's so immature because someone is uncomfortable with something that is clearly kind of like, even if I was this super sexually liberated person, I feel like I could still understand why someone would say, hey, this is weird because sex is an intimate thing. And you can say, "Oh, they're just vibrating No, they're not just vibrating panties." And like, I don't want to be dramatic, but it's like I don't want to say this because I feel like I'm being a little bit dramatic, but isn't it like an orgy? If all your friends get together and you're all wearing vibrating panties and you're all pushing each other's buttons and making each other vibrating, that's low key a sexual act. And that's low key an orgy. You're asking for the ladies to participate in an orgy on camera, on a major network where millions, okay, maybe not millions, because, you know, if you've seen the ratings lately, they have not been millions, but tons of people are watching you. Like I said, even if you're a sexually liberated person, you can understand. Okay, you can understand why people would feel a little bit uncomfortable, like why your friends would be uncomfortable. And if they brought it up to you and they're like, I just feel like this is a little too much, I don't think your response should be, well, you should have some more sex. And like Marla called it out, like, dude, weren't you the one just saying that you're not having sex in your relationship? Okay, that you and Todd haven't had sex for a while, so like, why are you calling me out for not having sex when you're not having sex either? So like, that's just a stupid, like, you're trying to, what's the reverse? It's not slut shaming. is it? It's not version shaming because I don't think Marlo's a virgin. I don't know. It's reverse sex shame. No, you know what? It's still sex shaming. It's just the lack of sex shaming. Yes, that's what Candy was doing. She was lack of sex shaming Marlo, and that's unacceptable. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I 100% agree with Marlo. It's just kind of like it's just a little too much. It's time and place. Time and place. And like I said, for some people, not everybody, like sex is an intimate thing. So I could totally understand if you don't want to engage in a sexual act with your friends on camera. I don't think it has anything to do with Marlo not having sex. I don't think Marlo's being a prude or whatever. Like, that's totally reasonable. Come on, Candy. Come on. And that's the thing about Candy from watching, like, previous seasons of her. Like, Candy is another one that is very reluctant to give apologies and to take accountability. Right? Like when Candy stand up and was like, "That's how you do it, Drew." When Candy apologized, and I was just thinking like, "No, Kenya, that's not how you do it. Please." I mean, Drew is definitely worse than Candy, but like Candy should not be your example of how to take accountability and give apology because that was not what that was in that moment. And in this moment, no. Like Candy always thinks she's right. She does. And you know what? The thing about Candy, I think she is kind of usually right when it comes to other people. I think Candy is on the ball, but I think like most people, including myself, when it comes to yourself and taking accountability, you can be a little stubborn and a little slow to kind of realize things. So, okay, and since I've been talking a lot of crap about Candy, let me say this. I'm happy for her. I'm happy that the play, what's it called? Thoughts of a Colored Man, it seems to be doing well. So I'm also happy for that. And it does sound like an interesting play. And if I'm ever in New York City, which I don't really see happening anytime soon, but if I was, I think I would go and see it. So kudos to Candy. Snap, snap, snap for her. Okay, let me have a balance. And you know what? Let me say a second nice thing about Candy. She looked amazing this episode. She really has been looking good lately. Not that she didn't look good before, but you get what I'm saying. Now, I don't know if this is a nice thing, a third nice thing. It's kind of a nice thing, but Candy, is it just me? Or has Candy been a little bit messy when it comes to her confessionals? She's been a little bit messy, but you know what? I'm here for it, Candy, because it's kind of entertaining. So I said my nice things about Candy. Kudos to her. You know, moving on. So, what happened this episode? Okay, so Sonia and Kenya, they went for a stroll in New York City, and they had a little bonding moment. And you know what? I kind of like their energy together. I'm looking forward to seeing more of them and seeing if they're able to grow a friendship because I feel like they would make good friends. I don't know, maybe because they're both tall. Like, I'm so superficial, okay? Sonia's tall, Kenya's tall. Best friends! That's all you need, right? You need to be the same height in order to be friends. But I don't know, I just like their vibe together. And Kenya, she's talking a bit more about Mark, and we've already been through that, so let's move on. Um, Sonia, I think that's her name. Or that's what we're gonna call her for now. Until we learn her real name. Sorry. Like, it's no disrespect to her because she's like, what, a 500th time Olympic gold medalist. So it's like, come on, I should really, show some respect. Okay, but, okay, I think her name is Sonia, okay? So Sonia is kind of venting about her relationship with Drew because Drew, I mean, if you watch last season, we know how Drew is. Drew is a little bit messy. But I can understand Drew is the one that kind of introduced, Okay, who are we kidding? We know that's bullshit. We know that the producers are like, here, you're on the show, let's have this person introduce you, right? But whatever. Drew is the one that kind of introduced her to the rest of the cast. So maybe you would feel some sort of loyalty to the housewives that kind of introduced you to the rest of the cast. I don't know. But they're developing a friendship, but as she's starting to get to know Drew more and more, she's seeing aspects of her personality that is pretty messy, and she's not too sure if she wants to align herself. And I can understand, like, you're new to the group. The last thing you want to do is align yourself with somebody that is, like, super messy, and everybody in the group is side-eyeing because, like, you don't want everybody else in the group to look at you crazy, especially when you're really not friends with this person. Like, if this was your real friend, then, like, yeah, you have to be loyal and stand by them, by their bullshit. But you don't even know this person. Right? And like people may be looking at you like that's your friend. So I think Sonia kind of wants to sort of make her separation from Drew and kind of let the ladies know, like, me and her are not friends like that. We're not cool. One of the things that Sonia brought up was Drew's weight loss thingy, which did she talk about that last season? Because the way Drew, because later on when they met up after the play and they confronted Drew about her weight loss, she kind of spoke about it as if she was doing it for a hella long time. But I don't remember her talking about it last season. Now, I could be wrong and I'll accept that, but I really don't remember her talking about that. And I don't see why she wouldn't bring it up if it's something you've been doing for a really long time. So it just comes off like, now, to be fair, I mean, there was like what, like a 1 year plus delay for this season. So if a year and a half is considered a really long time for some, then okay. But like, I don't consider a year and a half a really long time. So I don't know what Drew is talking about. And that's the thing with Drew. And even when she was doing the workouts and just you kind of get the vibe that Drew's bullshitting. I'm sorry. It just is what it is, right? But look, if she wants to start a fitness program, fine. Like personally, I don't think just because you got plastic surgery you can't be into fitness. I think that's silly. Or you have to be a certain size or have a certain look. Now some people, when they look to people to be their fitness guru, yes, they maybe for them they want to see somebody that is has maybe the ideal shape that they want to have, and that's kind of motivation for them, like, okay, you do these workouts and your body looks like this and I want my body to look like that, so I'm going to follow you. But I don't necessarily think that's the requirement that you have to have a certain look to be like, why am I calling it a fitness guru? But I'm going to stick with it, to be a fitness guru, right? Nor do I think that you can have plastic surgery. Oh no, you had a BBL or you had this or that. I think that's okay. As long as you're open about it, and Drew has been open about it. She's not hiding it. It would be one thing if you didn't let your audience know that you had plastic surgery and you're kind of presenting off like your body as like, this is going to be the results if you do my workout, when you went to the Dominican Republic to get a BBL, right? Like that I think is kind of problematic and unethical. But if you're open about it, it's okay. I don't see that as a big deal. So that personally, that's not my issue with it when it comes to Drew. It's just, I don't know. They showed clips of Drew working out and I just don't I don't know. You know what? I kind of get the impression that maybe this whole fitness thing is more of a Ralph idea, because Ralph seems to kind of be more into it. They even during this episode they showed a clip of him working out. But I think because Drew is the more famous one in the relationship, they're kind of using her as the face, as well as, she has a peach. So they're kind of using her as the forefront, but this is more of Ralph's passion and Ralph's baby. But they're kind of teaming up like to, Ralph's passion, Drew's face. Kind of thing. And she is an actress, so she's playing the role of a fitness guru. I don't think she'll be winning an Emmy anytime soon though with this act. So but I guess the more she does the workouts, the more convincing it will be. Now, they did try to she did try to explain it and everything and how it works, but to be fair, I think editing can be messy, and they try to make it seem like I think they try to make it seem more confusing than it is. To me, it just seems like there's a fitness plan and there's a meal plan, and maybe you pay monthly, right? Now, it's one of those things, like, can you say it's a scam or it's not a scam? I think it's subjective. I mean, I didn't try this program, so I'm not gonna say it's nonsense, right? And just because Drew doesn't know anything about what's going on, like, I think at one point during the confessionals, the producer asked her, how much a month do you pay? And she had to call somebody to ask them, and like the business manager, and the business manager didn't. I don't know if the business manager didn't understand what she was saying, but the business manager was like, I need app. I need app. Huh? Oh, how much is the monthly membership? I need map. Huh? I need app. I need app. What? Like, that response doesn't even make sense. And Drew is clever. She covered it up like, oh, and we're coming out with an app too, guys. That was a really, really good cover up, but like, I was just really confused by that. So Drew just comes off as really, really sketchy. I don't know. And I think, and she, like, how do you not know the monthly payment? Like, I think that's like basic knowledge. Like, if you were asking, so how much money do you make a month or something like that, I understand maybe you needing to refer to your business manager or something to get a breakdown of that. But if you can't even answer how much it costs, like, anybody can answer that. Like, I could go, which I'm not gonna do, but like, I can go www.dropitlikei'shotwithdrew.com and find out how much it costs. So it's like, if I have access to that information as someone that is not interested, like, who am I as a nobody if I have access to that information? I don't understand how this is your business and you don't have access to this information, or you don't have this information off the top of your head. You call your business manager and they don't even seem like they understand the question. Like, can you understand now, like, why it does come off as a little sketchy? Now, I'm not saying it's a scam. I think there are lots of things out there like this. I do think, are they using a lot of marketing ploys that are a bit exploitative? Like, lose 21 pounds in 21 days? Like, is that kind of shady and unethical? Yes, it probably is. So yeah, I can understand why Sonia, especially Sonia, like, being an Olympic athlete, I can imagine. Then her husband as well, like, played football, he won the Super Bowl and whatever, whatever. As you can tell, I'm not into sports, so um please have patience with me. But yeah, like, she is an athlete, her husband is an athlete. I can imagine that they take fitness very seriously. And not only do they take fitness very seriously, I can imagine it's part of their brand. I actually think she trains or something. Like, she like has Sonia has her own fitness program. So I can understand, you're on television as well. You don't want to be associated with someone that is potentially running a fitness scam, because that is going to make you look bad by association. So I can understand the need to speak out about it and say, I'm not okay with this, right? Like, I get it. Because people would think, oh, you're her friend, so you must be a part of that as well. So, I'm sorry, I was kind of all over the place, but yeah, she was talking to Kenya about that. And okay, I'm not gonna go in chronological order since I'm already talking about Sonia and Drew. Let me just fast forward to after the play, them hanging out and talking. Now, I will say this. If someone is your friend, I do agree that if you have an issue with them, it's probably not the greatest idea to bring up that issue with the entire group of friends, especially if you know the entire group of friends are not really feeling Drew. Like, and you know that they're gonna gang up on her. And if that's your friend like that, or if you're trying to formulate a friendship, that is very shady. So I can kind of understand why Drew was making up her face like that and was taken aback. Like, you were just in my hotel room earlier and you had the opportunity to say something to me one on one, but you didn't. So and so now you're saying it now, like. And then Sonia's kind of excuse, well, there was a lot of people in the room, which I kind of get that. I do. But like, I don't want to say what's the difference, because intellectually I understand there is a difference between hair and makeup people and then the cast. I do. But like, what makes, I don't know why you feel more comfortable speaking in front of like a bunch of ladies that don't like Drew versus speaking to Drew in front of her team. You know what I mean? Or like, you can always, like, I guess if you get the producer's permission, you can always like take Drew aside and like, Drew, when you have time, I actually would like to talk to you one on one, because there was just some things I've been noticing that I want to get off of my chest. Right? So that wasn't a really good look for Sonia. But then I think I have different standards for real life versus reality television. I think when it comes to reality television, I'm a little bit slack when it comes to these things, because I feel like the gossip is going to get back to the group anyway. So it's like, it's not a big deal to have that conversation in front of everybody. It's like, they're going to be gossiping about it the next day. Like, you might as well just cut out the middleman and get it over with and just say it in front of everybody. Right? Especially if everybody has been feeling the same way, everybody has been questioning her fitness program. You might as well just have the conversation. But I feel like the way Sonia kind of went about having the conversation was just a little bit weird. Like, I know I'm your friend and I feel like you want me to stand up for you, but there were just some things that are a little sketchy to me, and like, I don't know. I don't know if it was editing, but it was just kind of like, I don't know. And I agree with Candy's confessional, like, maybe you should have wrote it down. And I shouldn't talk because, as you can tell by this review, I'm not the best at communicating my ideas either. But I think she should have just got right into it. Like, look, Drew, as a fitness person, my damn self, I'm looking at your fitness routine and that you're selling, and I have some questions about it, because I can't in good faith be associated with something that I don't think is legit. And here are the reasons why think are I don't think it's legit, and maybe this is a chance for you to clear it up. Now, either way, Drew's gonna have a problem, so there's nothing that really could have been said. But I think Sonia should have just got right into it instead of kept saying over and over again, I feel like you want me to defend you. I feel like you want me to defend you. And maybe there's things behind the scenes. Maybe Drew said this, yo, you should have my back, and da 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 da, that we're not seeing. But from what we've seen of the episodes, like, I don't really recall a moment where Drew was like, you better have my back. You better have my back in front of the ladies, right? Now, I'm not going to be surprised if Drew said this, but like, just based on what we saw on film, I didn't really see that moment. So it was just a little bit weird. And of course, when Sonia confronted her, I think Marlo, oh my God, Marlo, I love Marlo. I really do. She is I'll say it again. She's a great addition. A great addition. She should have got a peach a lot sooner, to be honest with you. Marlo's hilarious. She's kept clowning her. Candy has her head down, like, oh my gosh. Like, between Marlo Cheray and Candy, Candy and Kenya. Oh my gosh, it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair at all. And so, like, if I was Drew, I would be very mad at Sonia in that moment. Like, these are the OGs. You have me looking like a fool in front of the OGs. Okay, all the shade assassins are lined up, and like Candy doesn't even need to say a word. You know how Candy is in her faces and her arched eyebrow and her like face palming. Like, that was enough for me to feel shame. That's all I need. Candy to like face palm, and I will like shrink into a shell. Like, oh my gosh, Candy's face palming me. Oh my god. And Kenya with her laugh. Like, okay, that's not how she laughs, but you know what I mean. Kenya and her little laugh at you, like daggers to the heart. So yeah, I would be, if I was Drew, I would be a little peeved that Sonia's like, dude, you couldn't have this conversation with me privately. You have to embarrass me in front of everybody. But look, I mean, this is what you signed up for. I mean, they weren't that hard on her, and I do feel like she kind of deserved it anyways, to be honest with you. I mean, they were just asking the questions that everybody else are asking, so sorry, Drew. But okay, let me say something nice about Drew. She's a lot more tolerable this season than she was the season before. Positive. Okay. Um do. Okay, so I kind of skipped over um when they were on their way to the play. And this whole vibrating panties saga thing. So the only ones that really kind of wore the panties and had the remote, because Sheree conveniently forgot the remote upstairs. How convenient. But she was wearing the panties, which I don't know if that's true. But the only ones that were wearing it was, of course, Candy, of course, Sonia, because she's the new girl, so she has to play along, and Drew. Isn't it funny that the new people and Sheree, who's been gone for a while but is back, like they're the ones that wear it? Because it's like, I understand you're new, so you want to be a team player, you don't want to cause a fuss. Candy is the OG, even though she's not really an OG, but she's an honorary OG because she's been part of the show since the second season, so she might as well be an OG at this point. Right, so they wore it, but like they really didn't do much with it, which I'm kind of grateful. And I didn't even think about this before. The husbands are there, so like that's just hella awkward. And I agree with Kenya. It's like, I'm not gonna wear vibrating panties and like giving other people the remote with other people's husbands present. It's just on national television. It's just weird. Is it me? I'm sorry. I'm trying to be open-minded, but it's weird. It's just weird. It's weird. So, yeah, and then no, it was just weird. So, whatever. Oh, I just also side note, like I loved Marlo's red. Was it a red jumpsuit or a two-piece? I don't know what it was, but I loved her monochromatic red. Like she looked absolutely gorgeous. Candy looked gorgeous. Kenya's wig is kind of wiggin' for me. Like, I don't know, like the skin part is like seeping into the hair part. For me, like the scalp and the skin should not, there should be more of a differentiation. Okay, let me not, I can't read Kenya and not speak at the same time. Like, oh my gosh, but you know what I'm saying. It was like, why is the hair the color of your scalp? It was just kind of, I don't know. But Kenya is so gorgeous, it doesn't matter, right? Like, Kenya also looks good despite the wig. And with the wig, Kenya looks amazing as well. So, kudos to you ladies. Atlanta, I think, are the best dressed and the best looking. Okay. So now we got all that out of the way. Let's end it off. Wait, let me think. Anything else worth mentioning? Oh yes, let me just mention this just quickly beforehand. Kenya did apologize to Ralph. Now, I didn't review the not last week's episode, but the last episode. Um, because I guess Kenya should have apologized, because I think there is kind of this general rule. And you know what? When it comes to Kenya, Kenya has a history. And I do think it's just best for Kenya not to get too involved with the husbands. Okay, let me not single out Kenya. I think in general, it's best for the wives and the husbands not to get too involved in with each other when it comes to drama or when it comes to flirting. Okay, it's just good to keep it cordial, because when the husbands get involved in the wife's drama and the wives get involved in the husband's drama, I think things can really escalate quickly. And you know what? Ralph doesn't have a peach. Okay, so the only one that Kenya should really be beefing with is Drew. However, I don't disagree with what Kenya said last episode when she was speaking up for Drew, because I do feel like Ralph is gaslighting her 100%. I think Kenya was right, but I think maybe that's more of a private conversation you have with Drew and be like, look, um, the way your husband acted at that table and everything is actually reminding me of me and Mark, and maybe I am projecting, or maybe because I've been through certain situations, I can now be more attuned when I see someone's being emotionally abusive. So maybe you want to kind of look out for these signs and, make sure that maybe have a conversation, or da. At the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do, but still. But I think maybe that should have been a one-on-one conversation that she directed at Drew, versus trying to check Ralph at the table, because it's not like that's going to make much of a difference. And then you're just going to have, because Drew, of course, is going to defend her husband. It's like you're just going to make an enemy out of the husband and the wife. You know what I mean? But I think either way, because they're filming a reality television, the rules are kind of different. So even if Kenya had a private conversation with Drew on camera, Ralph would see it and have a problem with Kenya. So you know what? You can't win, whatever. But like, I do appreciate that. And, kudos to Kenya. Growth. I do appreciate Kenya realizing that, maybe I overstepped. Maybe I was a little harsh, and maybe it wasn't my place to kind of check him like that. But she wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong at all. Go Kenya. I mean, stop. Go Kenya. You know what I mean? So it is what it is on that front. Okay. Moving on finally to Cheray and Tyrone. Honestly, by the end of the scene, when like Cheray started crying, I cried. I'm not gonna lie, I cried. And Real Housewives of Atlanta has been on for a long butt time. Okay, a long butt time. And I feel like I grew up with them. I knew Cheray since I was a little girl. And no, I'm not exaggerating, right? Like I've known Cheray, not personally, okay, television wise. I've known her since I was a little girl. So has Cheray always been my favorite? No, but I've grown to appreciate her a lot more. Sure, did I groan a little bit when I found out she was joining the cast again? Yes, I groaned a bit, but now that she's here, Sheree is one of those people that you're never excited for her to come back. I mean, that sounds kind of terrible, but once she's there, you kind of realize what she adds to the show. And you know what? I'm never, ever gonna take Sheree for granted again. I really like Sheree. And you know what? I like her more now that she's not doing that bone collector nonsense. You know what I mean? I think before, while I was kind of annoyed with her, she didn't I feel like she was very secretive and protective when it came to her own life, but she was kind of stirring the mess and into everybody's business. And I can tolerate that to a certain extent, But like I said, if you're not sharing of yourself and your own personal life and you're being secretive, but you're quick to tell everybody's business, I think that makes me not like you. And I don't even think that you're good for the show at that point. I just think that because I like to see mess, but you want the mess to at least come off somewhat organic. You know, like you don't want to see the wheels turning too much, right? So, yeah. But I'm really liking Cheray this season because she's a little bit messy, but I don't get the feeling that she's going out of her way. So, that's I said all that to say that sidetrack. Um when she started to cry and break down, like I cried and I felt really sad for Cheray. And I'm, like from her in, where like the beginning of her debut on the show and her issues with her ex-husband Bob, and it's like you just want to see Cheray win because Cheray has been through a lot throughout the years. And I don't know, you want to see her find love and happiness. You truly do. And I'm happy that she finally got Chateau Cheray built up the way that she wanted. So I'm happy for her on that front. But like romantically, let's just get into it. So this is just I would be so pissed. So pissed. The woman, well, she didn't the woman travels an hour and a half, an hour and a half. And to make things worse, she is being filmed, right? And listen, Cheray has been the butt of a lot of jokes, okay? Cheray has been the butt of a lot of jokes, and I think Cheray knows that. And here we go again. Another situation where she is set up to be a butt of the joke. I hope no one's laughing at her when it comes to this scenario. I truly don't, because I was not laughing. I was crying with her. I truly was, because it was so disappointing. She travels an hour and a half on camera. She waits this for this man for 2 hours. Not 10 minutes, not 15 minutes, and then she found out he wasn't coming. 2 motherfucking hours. And you can tell she was so happy and excited. And like, Cheray, she's kind of a private person, so you're not gonna see a lot from her outwardly when it comes to her emotion and happiness. And like, she kind of keeps it to herself a little bit, but you can tell. She looked all cute. I loved her fur. PETA don't come for me, but I loved her fur. I loved her hair, and like she was looking so good. So good. And this man stood her up and had her waiting for 2 motherfucking hours. It's like, listen, I understand shit happens, right? But you don't have the balls to text her to let her know. Like, yes, is she gonna be upset? Is she gonna be disappointed? But like the earlier you let her know, the better. The less time she's wasting, the less of a fool she's going to look. The more she can kind of, and I don't think she needs to save face because this whole scenario is not on her. But if you gave her some sort of heads up, maybe she could have saved face, because you can tell that Cheray is very sensitive when it comes to things like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could have protected her in some way, but you didn't. It's like, there must be some, like, I don't know, maybe next episode we're gonna find out. Like, I think I remember recalling that, like, he got arrested or something later on, or something happened to him, so maybe that's why, maybe he got arrested and that's why he wasn't able to contact her, or something of the sort. This man better have a good reason. And you know what, I don't think getting arrested is a good reason. I think that's a red flag. Like, you get arrested again, I mean, that's a red flag to me. I don't think that's a good reason. I mean, maybe that's the reason why you couldn't contact her, but that's not a good enough reason for her to keep dating you, to be honest with you. And if he's back in jail, which I don't think he is. But if he's back in jail, I hope this time Cheray moves on. Like, how long was this man in jail? How many seasons was this man in jail and Cheray waited for him? No, I'm not here for it. Cheray, you're a beautiful woman. You have lots of great things to offer. I think the standard should be a man that's not in jail. Like, I feel like the bare minimum. And this is why. Like, you're too grown. You have too much to lose to be dealing with this nonsense, to be honest with you. And the fact that, like, even he can't even tell even if he can't contact you directly, he can't tell his lawyer, he can't tell somebody to kind of tell you. Like, she has to find out through the producers that he's not coming. Like, that's just low to me. I don't know. I'm not, no. No. I'm not feeling this guy. Sorry. I'm like the daughter. And can you believe that? I just want to say this. Can you believe that, like, I was so surprised when Sheree's daughter showed up in last week's episode and they were like, she's 36 years old. Like, what? Sheree has like a fully like a middle-aged daughter? Like, are you kidding me? When did this happen? I swear she was just 12 yesterday. When did she turn 36? That's crazy to me. So, yeah, I'm with her daughter. Like, you can tell her daughter is not here for this Tyrone character. And neither am I. Neither I am not amused at all. Like, it was just it ended so sad. Yeah, but like Sheree ended up calling Kenya, and I'm really enjoying Kenya as well because yet again, Kenya's not going out of her way to be messy and going out of her way to be the villain. Yes, she's still messy, but it feels a little bit more authentic with all of them. And because of that, even though okay, let me say this. This is going to sound terrible, right? And I'll preface what I'm going to say with this. Like, although of course I don't like to see Sheree being stood up and her breaking downing her breaking down and crying, right? Like, obviously I don't like to see that, but what I think I'm enjoying about this season, like, actually I'm really impressed with this season so far. I like it because I think there's a balance of the over the top goofiness and messiness and shade, but the drama it just seems a little bit more grounded to me, right? By these moments like this where you can tell that Sheree wasn't like this over the top produced scene. This was like authentic. This was happening in real time. And you really got to it's like you got to see a little bit of who Sheree is. Well, she let her wall down a little bit and she broke down. And it's like, I don't want that to be the reason as to why I connect to you, but it kind of is. You know what I mean? So, yes, I'm enjoying the seasons because it just feels a little bit more authentic. Where last season just felt a little goofy and over the top, and previous seasons felt goofy and over the top. And like I said before, honestly, I'm not missing Portia at all. I'm absolutely not. Because I could not take another season of her and Kenya going back and forth. And as much as I like Nene, I'm not missing Nene and Cynthia. I like Cynthia too, but I'm not missing Cynthia either. Like, let's just be real. I'm really loving the dynamic of the new cast because it's still a lot of the old school people, but Drew and like Sanya. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I will learn your name. Trust me, I will. But they're adding fresh blood. And then Sheree, she's kind of an oldie but a goodie in her coming back. Marlo, she's been around, but she's kind of new with the peach and everything. So it feels a little bit fresh to me. Fresh but familiar. And you know what? That's the way I like it. So kudos to you, ladies. You guys are beautiful and you guys are bringing it. I'm enjoying the season so far. So I rambled on long enough. If you're still listening, please like, subscribe, and comment. Like, are you guys enjoying this season? Do you think it's a wash? Is it boring? Is it